welcome to the stream, everyone. Today we're going to try something a little different. Normally I just cover, the usual Crowfall or whatever game I've played, but I have kind of a funny story to tell that'll kind of lead us into the video here. So typically I'd be covering Crowfall, but with it being kind of buggy, I'm kind of trying something a little bit new. We're going to try a new series, kind of vlogging or documenting my process of creating my own custom 3D board game. So specifically, just to give some background information, this past weekend, for holiday weekend, I was at a work event and I had finally got a chance to play Settlers of Catan. I knew it was a very popular board game, and I know people are probably going to think like, oh my god, finally, oh my god, I can't believe it's been this long. I've been alive for a while and I have never played Settlers of Catan, and I've hung out in my fair share of comic book shops and everything like that, but I don't think Settlers of Catan is really that old. I could be mistaken, but a couple of my friends said that they don't think it's that old. You can do a quick search here. Let's see how long it's been out. So Settlers of Catan was published in 1995, so yeah, that would have been out while I was still in school. So I'm just, I've heard of it, I've just never got a chance to play it, and up until recently. And then when I played it, I fell in love with the game. I mean, it's so simple and so engaging, and it was just so fascinating to me, just the game and the mechanics and everything like that, and bartering, and it's just kind of like the base for a lot of the video games we play today, right? So I was actually inspired, and I've always liked creating things with my hands, so maybe in the future I may video document some things. Like I like prop making, I like costume building. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I have a few sets of armor that I've built for Star Wars, but let's kind of refocus back to the board game. This kind of inspired me. As I was playing, I was like, what'd be kind of cool, since the board is, very traditional, flat pieces of cardboard, tiles, and it just wooden miniatures that go on top of that, very traditional board game. And I was just kind of thinking, a few of my coworkers have 3D printers, but I was just like, oh, you know what, this would be kind of cool to look into making a 3D board for. And we just got kind of talking, and instead of me waiting on my coworkers to produce some 3D models or anything like that, I figured, well, I could either build my own custom 3D board, but why not do it by hand? Well, the disadvantage obviously is that it's not going to be identically replicated by like a 3D printer, so you're going to have a little bit more unique tiles, which I think is fantastic. The downside is obviously it's only going to be as accurate as you make it, right? So I mean, the quality will definitely depend on the amount of effort I put in, which means that I have to try to keep the style of the artwork or the theme consistent. So I did do a fair amount of prep work in terms of getting source materials and figuring out how I wanted my board to work and everything like that. So I kind of referenced, or I kind of saved some images that were very inspirational. I should have probably included kind of the art style. So I was really inspired by some of these low poly low poly artwork that I found on Pinterest. I created a low poly board, and I'll quickly show you guys what I mean. What do I mean by low poly? It's a very simplified art style that I would like to use and kind of translate into these Catan tiles. So let me find a nice example for you. Let's see. I found a few examples that I really like, but I guess this is a good example, kind of. There we go. This is kind of a neat example here. There we go. So you guys can kind of see this low poly build that this person has. They have their texture map, but you can see that everything's very geometric, very kind of blocky. It's got this very blocky aesthetic to it, and what I really like is it lends itself very well to sculpting, because it actually simplifies the amount of detail that I have to put into my sculpts. And I'll kind of show you a few examples of what I got done today. I literally just started today after I got out of my day job, so this is kind of a labor of love, and you know, that's a good thing. I think, you know, because I am doing this as a labor of love, it's going to end up being a better product, versus me being paid or doing it for somebody else, right? This is something I want to do, and this is something that I want to use. I'm not, you know, I'm not selling these. I'm just doing this for my own kind of pleasure. So this one's also another example of, you know, a low poly, very geometric mountain. So I have these tiles here, and you can kind of see, after kind of drawing inspiration from the artwork here, I was able to get a tile template here to kind of help me lay out some guidelines and some basic measurements for how big I want the tiles to be, etc., etc. Once I was able to get that, this is an example of a board. It's kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see the blueprint for how the board total tiles will lay out, you know, just the count of how many tiles. If I wanted to do a solid frame around it, like the traditional Settlers of Catan board, here's a good example of a different style baseboard where you would insert your tile pieces, and this is something I may do instead. I actually really like the fact that this is a solid piece. I've heard of people doing something like this, except eventually cutting it in half or in quarters, perhaps, to make it a little bit more transportable, which would make sense. I mean, this is fantastic, though. I absolutely love this. I'm doing my pieces currently in Super Sculpey, which allows me to sculpt it by hand, which I absolutely love doing. I like sculpting things with my hand. I'm not by any means a professional sculptor, but I've done enough sculpting in college and in high school to know that I thoroughly enjoy it. So that's the board. Make sure I go through all of my the inspirational pieces. This is traditional board pieces that come with the Settlers of Catan. This is just a reference image to kind of remind me of what pieces I need to build for each color. You know, I'm doing a 4-person set, so I'll probably have to do 4 sets of each, and I'll have to do the pieces multiples. I have considered just purchasing a set of maybe purchase some miniatures from like Games Workshop and just kind of custom painting them myself. That way I'm not spending all this time kind of handcrafting the buildings that I don't want. That is an option. I haven't decided fully what I wanted to do with that, but if I do continue with this minimalist style, I may end up producing my own buildings, which would be kind of cool. And I have a technique for the base and everything like that of the buildings, which would be kind of fun. So this is a very one of the inspirational pieces that I found, being, you know, this is a plain water tile, and then this is a tile with obviously the docks, or, you know, the piers, and then this is where you would trade your resources in for your card. I just absolutely love the texture and the paintwork that they did in here. I would probably do something slightly different. Obviously my style is a little bit different that I've done, but this is, you know, one of the pieces that I was really inspired by. Let's zoom in a little bit more. I don't know if you guys can see it very well, but basically what this person did was they created this is a 3D printed tile, by the way, which I thought was just fantastic. I love the fact that they've kind of pre-cut out kind of areas for the pieces, pre-designated pieces, you know, settlements, cities, and the roads, and then the center is for, you know, whatever the value tile or the thief to sit on. And I think that's kind of what inspired me to do kind of a designated area for that. I've seen a lot of other 3D sets that don't kind of consider the, you know, the value token and where the thief is gonna sit, and I wanted to make sure that I was kind of keeping that in mind. And this is definitely very, very detailed with a 3D printer, and this isn't a style that I was interested in doing by hand, with Super Sculpey at the very least. You know, and just because I would have to manually create multiple tiles like this, and it would have taken me a very, very, very long time to do something like that. And I still can, maybe down in the future, but I think as a very first kind of go at it, I think I wanted to kind of pursue a style that I gravitated a little bit more towards. So let's continue. So now that we got through the inspiration, let's go to, I'll show you guys the final, well, let's go to how I started. So I used the paper tiles that I had, and I cut out this kind of like mother mold, this template for all of my hexagon tiles. And I actually, once I had this kind of outer, or this template for my hex tiles, I baked that and I hardened it. So it's hardened plastic. It's nice, and it's approximately 1/8 of an inch thick. And then what I do is I roll, you know, this is the soft unbaked clay here ball. I would roll this into the tile, and then I would be able to cut or trim these edges. And then what I'm left with are these hexagon tiles here. So this is the Super Sculpey that I use. It's original Sculpey white, oven bake. I did buy the 3.75 pound box just to be a little bit more efficient, cost efficient. But as I was saying, you know, this paper template was used to cut out, I printed that out, and I used this to cut out what I'm gonna call the mother mold. And then I'm able to kind of roll these tiles out, and then push out the soft clay, and then just have a baking sheet, and then I just bake it. So for those who are unfamiliar with Super Sculpey, you can buy this at any craft shop. It's super nice to use. I use it for some of my small like desktop miniatures that I want to build for work, and then I just hand paint them myself, and then I just set them on my desk. I get these wooden mounts or wooden bases if I want to. These are just spare bases that I have, just to kind of have a platform to work on. Once I have enough of these tiles, then I bake them. Tonight I only got to 2. I focused, you know, tonight, I don't know, in the handful of hours that I've worked on this, after making all the templates and everything, I got 2 forest tiles done, or wood tiles, whatever you wanna call them. And then I got my thief done. None of them are painted, but you'll kind of see how I did that. So before I show you my finished pieces, I'll show you some pieces that didn't work out. So I did kind of stack. So the bottom layer was my baked hex tile. This is hardened plastic. And then I rolled out a thinner top layer, and I was going to use this as, kind of a holder for, the thief or the value tile in here, the value coin. And then I cut out the indents for the roads and / settlements on each of the corners of the hex. But I didn't like how high it stood up, and if I were to put, landscape structures like stone or try to carve out a quarry, there wasn't enough room on this, what it looks like a cog shape, to actually do much 3D work on there, or little sculpture details. And I didn't really like that. I was just like, man, there's got to be another way, right, where I can do that. So this was kind of a failed idea, but you know what they say, like, there's no such thing as a bad failure. It's just a learning experience, right? So I mean, after I kind of figured that out, I started layering very thin layer of this clay on top, and then I carved out these kind of terrain lines, which was inspired by the very minimal aesthetic of this low poly artwork that I've been seeing, and the trees are kind of influenced by that too. Very simple shapes, very simple what should be geometric shapes, but they were still kind of organic in a sense, right? And I was just like, oh man, this is kind of cool. And so when I paint it, you can kind of see I'm going to try to use some solid shades in here to kind of portray these forest tiles a little bit better, but I'll be able to use some gradient values to kind of help separate everything, which will end up looking pretty nice. But that's just one of my forest tiles kind of completed. I'll show you what I have after I got my first tile done. While my second tile was baking, I was putting together my thief. Sorry about that quality here. We could probably just toss that. So this is my thief. The lighting is a little hard to see here. We have indoor lighting, but it's just this little figure, and I made this little I don't want to say it's a chibi character, but it's a very like cartoony, very like animated thief character that is that will fit, the base will fit into the actual hex tile center that I've cut out. We can trash that as well. So you can kind of see, so that it's this little like weird hermit looking character. He's got like a skull mask on with like a cloak, and he's got this kind of cane, he's got this kind of staff ornament on. I know it's kind of hard to see. It kind of looks like Yoshi, actually. It's kind of funny. But it is this little like animated character that would theoretically fit into this center base here. But once I paint this little thief character that'll move around the tiles, it'll actually be a lot better. So just to give you guys another quick look at what the finished forest tiles that I have are. This is what they look like. So you can kind of see the thief will kind of fit into these center areas here, and I'm pretty excited about that. Obviously there's only really one character. I could theoretically make like little knight characters for the knight cards if I wanted to, but I don't really feel like doing that. I think I'm going to keep it nice and simple. Do these forest tiles, get those all done, and then I'll probably do the set of rock, like aka mountain tiles. I'll probably have rock tiles in here, and that'll be pretty cool. We can actually get some pretty craggy surfaces by doing some hard geometric shapes, and that'll be pretty fun. I'm excited to do that. And then of course we'll have the wheat farm. I think the wheat one's going to be the most challenging for me. I have to figure out how to portray that. I have some ideas kind of rolling around with some low poly artwork references, but then we'll have the clay quarry for the clay bricks. That should be pretty cool too. A lot of nice geometric shapes there. And then what are we missing? We have the stone mountains, we have the brick quarry, we have the forest here, the wheat fields, and then the sheep hills. We'll do hills, and then of course doing the tiny little sheep on here. That'll be pretty interesting. I'll have to probably pre-assemble the sheep, and then glue those on with super glue. That's what I've been using. So sometimes I'll have to print, and super glue is kind of handy because if I print these, or not print, I'm sorry, if I bake these tiny trees, I'm able to check them after I'm done baking them, and then some of them are fairly loose. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll wiggle them, and if they come off, then I'll actually use super glue to kind of adhere them a little bit more securely, and that's worked out really well. When I could also just drip some super glue inside this the base of the trees to kind of secure them in if I really wanted to, but I'll double check those tomorrow. Hopefully when I paint them, the acrylic paint will kind of help set those trees in place. So not too worried about that, but yeah, this is kind of the style I'm going for. Again, this is one day, maybe 2 hours tops of work. I work fairly quickly, and it's a double-edged sword, right? So I work fairly quickly, and then what I should probably do is go through and try to polish some of these, or kind of refine some of these edges so that they're not they don't have these seams in them. I could do that. I have a Dremel and everything, or I could leave them like that, which kind of gives them a more handmade feel. I'm not sure. I kind of like these blemishes, these imperfections, just because they're kind of they kind of expose the craftsmanship a little bit. It's not some 3D printed tile where every tile or every replica of this is going to be identical. At least not yet. So I want to create this handmade tile set, maybe as a proof of concept, a prototype that just for myself to use. Maybe I'll take it into work. All my coworkers love this game, so and we can set it up. I work at our company. We have a designated game table we can set this up at, which would be really cool. And then maybe eventually we'll roll this out into, after I paint it or whatever, we'll roll this out into a nice 3D printed set. If we wanted to do some type of minimal style like this, that would actually be really cool to do something like that. But anyways, yeah, before this video gets too long, I just wanted to show you guys what I've been working on and kind of updating you guys on my downtime. Without Crowfall, not really motivated to play other video games. So I thought, this would be kind of a fun way to kind of keep my design skills and kind of my handy skills sharpened per se, and do something fun, make something fun with my hands, right? So this is a quick shot at the failed hacks back here on the tile, and then this is what the little thief looks like on the blank tiles before I added the actual trees and the terrain on here. You can kind of see how the tiles are lining up, and the thief looks that's about the proportions of the thief on there, and the thief kind of got a chance to play with the scale a little bit before, but yeah, that's what I've been working on so far. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I don't know, I'm hoping hopefully some of you guys are interested in seeing the process and how I work with my hands. And of course, during the daytime, I'm a designer by trade, so I do a lot of digital work. I mean, the majority of my work during the daytime is digital, so I don't get a chance very often to do stuff with my hands, which is why my hobbies have been custom building, prop making, and doing stuff like this for fun. My son can play something like this, and I could probably teach my wife fairly easily. Settlers of Catan is awesome like that. So that's exciting. Once I get done with this, we can definitely use this at home and play with this stuff. This would be really fun to play. Yeah, I'll continue doing more documenting for like my processes, and then I'll add them into this album, and we'll go through and I'll cover my progress as we're building through this build. I won't paint any of these tiles until I have them all set and ready to go, just so that I can paint them all at once. It's just a little bit easier to kind of do things assembly line style, so that I have consistent paint values and everything like that. It's just a little bit easier. That way, like something like this, I'm not painting two different sets of blues that I'm mixing. Each day is a little different. I kind of want them to be a little bit more consistent than that. So yeah, that's about it. I'm excited to show you guys a little bit more the next time around, but that's what I have so far. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and if you guys want to, feel free to join us again tomorrow, where I will be updating this content and shooting out another video. I will be streaming the coverage of this content tomorrow, same time as I usually do, 8:30, 9 o'clock Central Time, and we go until this content is done. If you're interested in just joining me and chatting about this content that I have. So yeah, thank you guys for swinging by. I appreciate it. Any comments, concerns, or anything like that, go ahead and shoot those down in the comment section, and we'll catch you guys later.